Hello friends, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you're enjoying the instruction that I'm giving you. So today we're going to be talking about how to tune with the pegs. So if you are a beginner, I definitely do recommend using the fine tuners to tune your violin. They're much more low risk and you can more easily hit the correct pitch than you can with the pegs. However, I realize this isn't always possible. Maybe you have an instrument that just doesn't have fine tuners. Or maybe you're a more advanced student who wants to learn how to tune with the pegs, and if so, this video is for you. Just a quick note, I feel like a lot of students think that having fine tuners affects the sound of the instrument, and that's why they don't want fine tuners on their instrument. I would say that fine tuners affect the sound very minimally. So if that's your biggest concern with having fine tuners, don't worry about it. I would rather you get comfortable with the instrument and tuning there first rather than dealing with the pegs. It's really not necessary, especially at the beginner level. So I think the first and most important thing that you need to have when tuning with the pegs is your pegs at a good angle. So when you're tuning with the pegs, you want to have your index finger on the back of the peg and then your thumb on the other side of the peg and tune like that. If your peg is at a really awkward angle where it's uncomfortable to do that, then tuning with the pegs is going to be 10 times harder. So you need to make sure your pegs are at a good, comfortable angle. This one is really good, my G string. Super comfortable angle. I can very easily just do that. If you find that your pegs are at not a good angle, you can adjust by adjusting the length of the string that goes in the hole when you're changing your strings. So when you're changing strings, right, there's a little hole in the peg. You can adjust how far the string goes into the peg, which will adjust the angle of your pegs as well. And if you're not confident, if you're not sure about that, you can just go to a luthier, and then the next time that they're changing your strings, you can just ask for them to be at a good angle. And I'm sure they probably usually do anyway, right? So having the pegs at a good angle, I think, is definitely number one. When you're first learning how to tune with the pegs, I would also recommend sitting down while you're tuning and using like a carpeted area or like a rug, just in case something happens, okay? Even before you start tuning, just get comfortable with the angle, okay? So when I'm tuning these guys, the lower pegs, like I said, index is on the back, thumb is on the front, and I am resting these 3 fingers on the next peg back here. For these guys back here, I'm just doing that with those 3 fingers and adjusting like that. So you want to adjust the pegs very minimally. Even if you just move the peg a little bit, the difference in pitch is going to be a lot more than if you just move the fine tuner a little bit, right? So use very small motions when you're turning the peg. If you're turning it away from you, the pitch is getting higher, and if you're turning it towards you, then the pitch is getting lower. When first using the pegs, it might take a while to kind of hit the right pitch. You might find yourself going above and below and above and below, and I think that's totally and completely normal. Just take your time. And if you're finding that you really can't get it to the right pitch, then here's a little hack that you can do. Turn it slightly sharper than what you want, and then take the string and kind of pull it up and over, and that will make the string like kind of loosen a little bit. So you can try that. But yeah, don't worry, don't be afraid if you're having trouble getting the pitch as quickly as you could with the fine tuners. It is going to take more time to learn how to tune with the pegs and kind of get in tune with their motion. If you're finding that your pegs are slipping, meaning that you turn it and then it just turns back, what I would suggest you to do is take your violin, well, you would be sitting right now, and take your whichever hand you're not using to turn the pegs and put it against the violin like this, and then take your other hand and turn, press in while you're turning, and then when you get to where you want to be, press in even more. You can also put a little bit of rosin on it if you're finding that it's really, really slipping. And if you're having the opposite problem, your pegs are stuck and they don't want to move, you can get this thing called, I think it's called peg compound from Char. I call it peg dope. I'll leave it linked down below. Or you can use pencil lead, and that will kind of grease the wheels, so to speak, of the pegs. As with any new skill, this is going to take time. I find that something that helps me too is even if I want to turn my peg higher, I go a little bit lower at first. That way it's just kind of loosening it up and getting it ready to turn. You really don't have to worry about your strings breaking. I feel like that's a pretty common fear. Usually only happens with the E string, and if say you're turning it really fast or like it's already really high pitched, then it might happen, but probably not going to happen as long as you're just being careful and turning the peg slowly. And if it does, it's happened to all of us. Literally, I was in a dress rehearsal one time. I was performing solo with an orchestra, and my E string popped and hit me in the face. So it's happened to all of us, kind of like a rite of passage, so to speak. So definitely don't worry about it. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below. Subscribe if you are enjoying my instruction, and thank you for watching.